To fight Lord Sidious, strong enough we are not. This was the blunt truth Yoda delivered to Obi-Wan Kenobi on that fateful day. The two Jedi had infiltrated their own home and reversed the signal to warn all of the Jedi to stay away from the temple. But Obi-Wan could not help himself, taking a look into the security recordings to find the culprit of this devastating attack. The truth was that it was his own brother, the boy he had trained, the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, the man who had turned against everything that he used to be. Obi-Wan begged the Grand Master to be sent after the Emperor instead, as he could not kill his brother, Anakin. But Yoda believed the opposite. In fact, Yoda knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that Obi-Wan was the only person who could defeat Lord Vader. He was so sure of this that he would even tell as much to the Emperor. As we all know, Yoda was absolutely correct in this. But what we wanted to find out is what was it that gave the Grand Master such faith in Kenobi? Well, join us in today's holocron as we peer into the mind of the Grand Master and attempt to decipher exactly why he had no doubt that Obi-Wan Kenobi would defeat Lord Vader. Why was Yoda so supremely confident in Obi-Wan's victory? Destroy you I will, just as Master Kenobi your apprentice will destroy. This is directly lifted from the screenplay of Revenge of the Sith, which would have been said in the original extended fight between Yoda and Sidious in the Senate Chamber. Yoda had such confidence that Obi-Wan would defeat Vader that he would even say it straight to Sidious's face. Of course, this would later inform Sidious to reach out and sense with the Force, determining that Lord Vader was indeed in grave danger. When Yoda said this though, we don't entirely believe that it was pride or Jedi arrogance speaking, but Yoda's innate knowledge of Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, and the way that he perceived the Jedi Order as well. Let's begin with the first subject, what Yoda knew of the duo's friendship, Kenobi and Anakin. It has been analyzed relentlessly that Obi-Wan was truly one of the few people in the galaxy that could have fought Vader and won. His style, being the total defensive Form 3, was the perfect lightning rod for Anakin's almost totally aggressive Form 5. Not to mention, both men utilized Ataru's footwork to supplement their forms. This enabled Obi-Wan to keep up with Anakin's extreme mobility and his energy. But if lightsaber forms were simply all there was to it, then Anakin would have a much more difficult time in Operation Nightfall. Sindralig was the Jedi Order's battle master. He was an expert in all 7 forms of lightsaber combat. Surely Sindralig would have, and likely tried to alter his style to be the perfect counter to that of Anakin's. But what failed him was Lord Vader's growing power. His passions had been unleashed, and his rage made manifest, oppressively powerful. Even Sindralig could not stand up to the mighty blows of Lord Vader, even with his near-perfect blade work, even with his knowledge of all 7 forms. But Yoda knew that Obi-Wan could. The relationship between a teacher and a pupil was sacred among the Jedi. It is a special bond that exists in all Force-based religions. Yoda knew this bond better than anyone, as he had trained Jedi for 800 years. And the thing that Yoda knew best was that the Master knows everything the apprentice knows. Of course, because they taught it to them. Obi-Wan and Anakin ceaselessly sparred against one another throughout the entire 3-year tenure of the Clone Wars. They honed each other's skill and cultivated their unique styles through spar after spar. And on the battlefield, not even a scalpel could best the precision of Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting united. When they fought back to back, they could easily play off one another's strengths, cover each other's weaknesses to maximize their efficiency. The point is that no one knew Anakin's style better than Obi-Wan Kenobi, and when the two of them were fighting together, they were the most powerful duo in nearly all of Star Wars lore. Perfect synchronization. Perhaps if the entire council had managed to survive Order 66, Yoda would still have only sent Obi-Wan Kenobi to face down Vader. Everyone else would have simply gotten in the way. But it goes far beyond lightsaber styles and combat knowledge. Yoda knew the leverage and the effect that a master has on his apprentice. And while Yoda may not have known the specifics of what was going to happen between them, he did discern through the Force that something about Obi-Wan would unbalance Skywalker. It is the same way that Yoda unbalanced Dooku during their conversation in Dark Rendezvous. The presence of the Jedi Master will expose all of the flaws in their fallen pupil. The former Padawan will begin to feel self-conscious, angry. While it may seem as though this works against the Jedi, as the Sith gain power through anger and the darkness, it is in fact something that works in the Jedi's favor. Luke Skywalker would later comment that it was the Sith's tendency towards passion and ferocity that made them ultimately sloppy, and why Luke said that the Jedi were nearly always superior to Sith in combat. He determined that the Jedi more often than not would win 1v1 engagements simply by remaining level-headed and tactical, while their Sith counterpart flew off the handle. These same teachings echoes the wisdom of Yoda, who approached all types of conflict in the exact same way. Despite his erratic style, he was a serene spirit in the Force, a spring meadow, And this was the same thing that he sensed within Obi-Wan. Anakin had embraced his passions. He may have been an efficient and a ruthless killer, but that was because he was emotionally detached from all of the Jedi at the temple he was slaughtering. He may have had trouble killing his former friends and colleagues, but he justified it all in his mind for Padme. He didn't have the connection that he had with them that he has with Obi-Wan. Only Kenobi could bring out that part of Skywalker that would make him act that irrationally. He would become tunnel vision, lose focus, and that is when the level-headed Jedi Master would strike. This is the essence of Form 3 Surisu, the very form that Obi-Wan embodied. One remained in a shell of defense. They conserved their energy while their opponent wore themselves down, battering against it. Once they got tired or frustrated, they would begin making foolish mistakes or leaving themselves open to prove a point. Only when that moment is achieved does the Master of Form 3 strike. The situation is only exacerbated when one includes the variables of a calm Jedi Master and an emotional apprentice. The reason for Yoda's faith in Obi-Wan was he knew about the nature of the Jedi. For 900 years, Yoda had given his life over to the path of light. He studied the ways of the living force, he followed the Jedi Code, and he studied Jedi history extensively. Every time the dark side rose, the Jedi managed to beat it back. Even if it brought them to their very limits, the light always triumphed. While Yoda understood the gravity of the situation, he held out hope that as long as there were only two, or perhaps even a single Jedi left in the galaxy, that the light could prevail. This truth was found in the countless historical accounts. Even when Exar Kun, Revan, and Nihilus drove the Republic to its knees and to the very brink of extinction, all the galaxy needed was one Jedi to turn the tide. It had all been the will of the Force. Yoda was unwavering in his belief that the light side was simply stronger than the dark, and according to his teachings, the dark side was quicker, easier, and more seductive. In the words of Mace Windu, the dark is a torch that burned brightly but quickly, something that was all corruptive, quick to give, but even quicker to take. The light was life and preservation. It rewarded steadfast loyalty, patience, hard work, and discipline. Those who served the dark were impatient, passionate to a fault, and would be consumed by their very ambition. In his 9-century-long lifespan, Yoda had never once deviated from the path of the light, from the path of the Jedi. His dedication was richly rewarded with incredible power, which he humbly kept to himself after the time was right. It were these virtues that made Yoda believe that the Jedi would always beat the Sith. And while he may have been partially wrong about always winning, as he would fail against Sidious, Yoda was correct when he analyzed the nature of Obi-Wan and Anakin, which is why he knew that it was impossible that Obi-Wan would lose. Yoda knew what it meant to be a Jedi, and on that day, Obi-Wan Kenobi was nearly a perfect Jedi. Palpatine would even make comment about this to Vader years later, saying that Obi-Wan Kenobi had gone to Mustafar with such resolute that he would destroy the Sith, that he separated Anakin and Vader entirely. He attacked Lord Vader as a true Jedi would have. And Sidious even stated that if all of the Jedi of the Clone Wars had fought like Obi-Wan had on that day, that the Sith would have never prevailed, no matter how powerful they had become. In the novelization for Revenge of the Sith, there is an extended dialogue between the two Jedi Masters Yoda and Obi-Wan. In it, Yoda believes that if Obi-Wan were to face Sidious, he would die horrifically and painfully. He even agrees that both of them together could not take out the Dark Lord, considering he had already defeated 4 of the greatest duelists of the Jedi. But Yoda does tell Obi-Wan that while it was true of them together, perhaps apart they could create an opportunity. And in my opinion, I believe that perhaps Yoda's game plan was to maybe distract Sidious, to taunt him with Anakin's well-being. He taunted the Emperor by saying that Obi-Wan would kill Anakin, perhaps in an attempt to make Sidious turn his thoughts and his feelings towards Mustafar. Yoda tried to distract Darth Sidious. Perhaps if Obi-Wan managed to defeat Vader quickly, Sidious would feel the ripple of his apprentice's death in the Force, which would cause him to momentarily falter. And if that were to happen, a single moment of the Sith Lord's distraction would be all Yoda would need to emerge victorious. If anything, Yoda was likely counting more on Obi-Wan's victory than his own. Unfortunately though, things did not shake out that way at all. But Yoda was correct in saying that they could create an opportunity apart from one another, as the two Jedi managed to live on just long enough to train a brand new hope. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on why Yoda was positive that Obi-Wan would beat Anakin? As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button for more Star Wars lore, and I hope you're having an absolutely phenomenal day.